You know, the theme of today is empowering community, and the examples of lived experience, the things that these young people are doing are showing those pathways. I think the rest of us will have a lot to live up to, but we will do our best to do that. Right now, I'm pleased to introduce what we're calling the Neighborhood Data for Social Change platform. The Sol Price Center for Social Innovation has been part of a conversation over the last 5 years that was spearheaded by Melody Head, who I see here in the front, called the LA Common Data Group. And I'll let my colleague, Dr. Luis Alvarez-Leon, talk a little bit more about our vision and our process. But a couple of years ago, we started to be part of that conversation. And that's culminated in the Price Center for Social Innovation becoming the Los Angeles partner of the National Neighborhood Indicators Partnership. This collaborative nationwide is coordinated by the Urban Institute and is comprised of network institutions that are committed to helping empower those working in low-income communities with the provision of neighborhood data and capacity building. We're very pleased that we were accepted into this collaborative at the end of 2016. As part of this work, we believe that bringing local data to the community is a necessity, but it's not a sufficient condition to provide the generative environment for social innovation. While I had hoped to actually launch the full NDSC for short, Neighborhood Data for Social Change platform to the community today, there have been a few technical challenges in the design of the platform, and that happens. Anyone that's worked with trying to get a website launched, you can appreciate that. But our emphasis in designing this platform is that it's been essential that it's not just a repository for local data, which would be useful for the community, but it's actually a tool for community engagement. We expect to launch the beta site soon. For those of you who are interested in viewing what I'm going to call the alpha site, and you want to perhaps be a beta tester to help us really make sure the site is that tool of community engagement, please go to the back and sign up on the table where the site will be available for you to kind of explore where it is right now and today. And we're hopeful to launch the full site by the end of June. So this is to be continued. Again, if you want to know when that launch happens, sign up and you'll be a part of that email blast. Our partners at the USC Dornsife Spatial Science Institute are working hard to bring this portal to the community. At this time, I would like to introduce Dr. Luis Alvarez-Leon to provide just a preview of the vision behind the NDSC portal. Dr. Alvarez-Leon is a postdoctoral fellow in the Sol Price Center for Social Innovation. Last year, he received his PhD in geography from UCLA, and we're very excited to announce that his dissertation was recently awarded the Best Dissertation Award in Economic Geography. Please join me in welcoming Dr. Alvarez-Leon.
First of all, I would like to just preemptively say that, of course, now it's out that I'm a Bruin, at least I was until a few months ago, but please don't hold that against me. In any case, I've had a wonderful experience here at USC, and particularly at the Center for Social Innovation, and a central part of this was working on this fantastic project, the Neighborhood Data for Social Change online platform. So as Gary said, this is a website that is very much in development, and that is purposely so because this is a community-centered and community-driven approach. So we want as much input and as much feedback for the design and for the user experience and for all the ideas that you may have about this portal, not only throughout the conference, but beyond. So we want to open this to discussion, and we are also aware that as any project, it's iterative, so please feel free to contact us, even when the website is live, about your experience with it and about any ideas that you may have. I'm going to speak a little bit about what this initiative is, how it's different from everything else that's out there, and what types of needs it's addressing in the community in particular. The Neighborhood Data for Social Change platform really emerges out of long conversations that have been going on in LA for at least 5 years. And as Gary mentioned, the LA Common Data Group is a large and diverse network of organizations and institutions across the region that have really come together and address the need for local data for community engagement and for community change. We live in an era where big data has been advanced as the solution for all ills. But there are a number of paradoxes that really pervade this narrative. And the first one of these is that there is so much availability of all kinds of data out there online, but that can very quickly turn into data scarcity or data overload. It's very hard to actually go around the internet and make sense of all the data that are out there. To verify the source, as we know, the collection of the data, to keep current with it, and it takes really a lot of time and effort and expertise. So that's one paradox. The other paradox is that when it comes down to it, really at the local level, there are not that many comprehensive sources of local data out there. Specifically, when people go to a website or to an open data platform and they have a particular interest to solve a particular problem in their community, it becomes a very difficult challenge. So then we have another paradox, which is that local data, which is the most highly valued asset in the data environment, because it's the one that is relative to our most immediate needs, is the hardest one to find. So at this intersection of issues in the big data environment, we are trying to position this project as something that goes in the opposite direction of what you see out there in the space of open data portals. What open data portals do is, I believe, a very valuable job of making data available. However, we have noticed that they are generally made by experts and for experts. So if you don't have a degree in geographic information systems or programming skills or statistical skills, it becomes very challenging, as we know, to make sense of the data, and even more challenging to actually put it to use in a concrete way for your everyday needs, especially if you're a community organization, if you're just a neighborhood group, if you're a lay user who is not an expert. So this is what we're doing with the Neighborhood Data for Social Change platform. We are creating a space that is more than just a data platform. It's really a tool for community engagement, and we want this to create community bonds between the users and between the users and the network of organizations that we have here. So this idea is really founded and built on 3 core principles, and those are exploration, explanation, and narrative. So in terms of the explanation, we have noticed that just making data available is not enough, and in fact, it can be counterproductive. So we need a vehicle for increasing data literacy in a way that is engaging for people and the user experience is intuitive. So at every step of the design of this platform, we have embedded an explanatory element. And this is, again, purposely, we want to get your input as to what that actually means. And we've been having conversations with our partners in the region, but we want to continue this conversation as to how you would envision something in terms of a data platform to be really the user experience to be friendly for you. So that's the explanatory element. Then, equipped with this data knowledge and this continuing data literacy, we want to let the users explore. But as you know, in a data environment that is boundless, it's very difficult to actually take the necessary steps to build an exploratory path that actually makes any sense and that you can come out knowing more than you did before rather than with more confusion. So what we're building here is an environment that is hopefully intuitive and guided by the user experience who wants to explore, who comes in with very different interests. And you'll see that the site is built trying to account for as many different viewpoints as possible and making it as simple and as whittled down as we can. So this is where our ethos of going, I mean, we've joked around in the office about the concept of artisanal big data. And I know it sounds like an oxymoron, but really what we're trying to do here is to curate the space of big data and to work on each data set in a way that makes it accessible to the lay user, and to not go big, but rather really hear and listen what the community has to say, focus on those problems, find the right data sets for those problems, and provide them in the friendliest possible way. The third part of it, and that's where the friendliness, if you will, comes in, is the narrative. We want this not to just be a data hub, or sometimes, unfortunately, what happens is it just becomes a data graveyard where people just download everything one day and then they never visit again. We want this to be a living project that is built on the narratives of the stories and the people in the community. As you have so eloquently heard put before, we have many stories that need to be told, and we want this to be a space where those stories are advanced. And so we have built in as a central component of this platform data stories. And right now, there's stories about the data sets that we have. But as this is a living project, we want them to be stories of data use and data users in terms of the community and the people who actually get to go on the website. And we want to hear about what they do and what problems they solve in their community. And hopefully, there will be also stories of data successes. So that's the type of dialogue that we want to encourage, and we want this to be a narrative experience that helps us tell and build the story of Los Angeles moving forward. So right now, what I'm going to do is just very briefly walk you through some of the user pathways that we have built and the principles of design that are embedded within them. And of course, taking into account that if you want to have a fuller user experience, we have set up a demonstration table at the back, the NDSC table. We have a banner, you can't miss it. And if further you want to stay appraised of the developments of this project, we have a list for you to sign up as a beta tester, where you'll be able to actually sign up and use the site and give us your feedback for the design, and then also a mailing list if you want to stay on top of the latest news and releases. And this is our landing page here. As you can see, unlike most data portals, this is really the landing page privileges the idea of the data stories. This is something that is built for the kind of community-centered narrative that we're trying to advance here. So I'm just going to walk you through the landing page, and you can see it's only when you scroll down from the data stories, and these are going to be, this is a moving carousel where we're going to have new data stories every couple of weeks, and hopefully many of them will be in partnership with the community. Then you have the composite indicators, which is a different entry pathway where the data stories are based on the narrative. The composite indicators are built on new measurements of, for example, economic opportunity on your left side, risk and vulnerability, and connectedness, which are 3 measures that have been developed by us at the Center for Social Innovation to address measurement issues that we think are important not only in the academic literature, but really about how we understand our communities. How do we measure economic opportunity not by its outcomes, but really by the process by which we can say that a neighborhood has or doesn't have economic opportunity? So those are issues that we're trying to deal with from the data side and presenting them to you, for your use to solve community problems. So the other user pathways here are, for example, if somebody is interested in a particular topic or a policy, we're calling them policy domains. These are broad areas of interest and wants to look at a particular type of data set. So let's say environment. We have, as we said, a very limited number of data sets, but they are high-quality local data sets that are available. And let's say somebody clicks on water quality, they can go to the page on water quality, and we have a number of visualization tools, the first of which is a map, which shows up on the right side. And these maps are going to be fully interactive. And let me just reload the page here, because we have charts as well, and we have the availability for download data as well. So we have different means of engagement for people. We want to make this very visual and very easy to navigate, and that's why we want the input to see really what are the best tools of engagement that people, especially all kinds of users, would like, because as you can see, a lot of open data portals really focus on this part down here, which is download the visible data set or download the full data set. As an expert, that's really where people go, and they just download the data set and they work on it with their computer. But we want this to be as engaging as possible, and embed different ways of understanding here. So for example, if people would be more comfortable with a pie chart displaying the same information, that's what we have over here. And finally, we have a different user pathway here, which is if somebody is interested rather not so much in a particular problem or issue, but in a neighborhood, we also have a tool to select your own neighborhood. And then you'll be able to not only select from a list that is available, but to create your own neighborhood and define it, and again, going back to the narrative, in the way that you understand your neighborhood. So that will take us to a page that is centered on a specific neighborhood and allow you to navigate the data sets and visualize them for that area in particular. So, and going back to the data stories, this really kind of gets summarized. All of this data environment, what we want is to translate all these numbers and charts and maps and graphs into stories that we can tell about the places where we live. So this is a particularly pressing issue for a lot of us, I count myself among them, in Los Angeles who are rent burdened. And even though I'm not a student anymore, that says a lot. Here we have a data story, and this is this narrative vehicle of engagement that is going to be interactive, and it's a mix of maps, photographs, text, and really trying to incorporate as many ways of engaging the user coming from particular stories that are important for their daily lives. And this is, we have a photo display, and here we scroll down, and this is where you see the mapping component. So this is another way for users to really bring this all together, and hopefully it will be a starting point also to go and fully explore the rest of the site, which we will keep you updated on. Thank you very much.